Yeah, I have a quick one for you all. So on a project we've been working on at work at Factorial, we ran into this weird bug with like these checkboxes and radio buttons. So whenever you check one of them, it scrolls to the top for some unknown reason. And like we couldn't figure it out because if you inspect this, it's simply a label that wraps an input element. Nothing funky. There's a for attribute and there's an ID attribute and they match and everything's good with the world. But if I click, scrolls to the top. And so we couldn't figure out what it was. And then I did some reading. And one way you can figure out if there's any event listeners attached to these things is using the getEventListeners function. So here's how we discovered what the bug was. So I highlight, for example, the input here. Now, when you go into DevTools, this becomes $0. That variable is now that checkbox. So now if you go get event listeners and we pass in that element, now we can see there is a focus. There's an event listener on focus. And if we keep expanding and we keep expanding and we click here, now we can see it's coming from this file called common.js line 38. And if we go in there, we can see it has an event listener on focus. And then here we can see all these focusable elements. It's attaching that event to, first of all, that's a lot of events being attached. And then if the header element with the header class isn't the closest, and then it goes in and it says element get binding client direct, and then it tries to scroll the thing into view. And this is causing our scrolling to the top all the time. And first of all, we don't need this code at all. This is pretty old, but also this is kind of weird. So be careful with these kinds of things. This is how you can find it, but be careful when you're just attaching events to a whole bunch of elements and just giving all of them the same functionality, and then also not documenting why exactly you're doing this, so that when people do find this, they understand like, but maybe I just need to tweak it a little bit because maybe we do need it for something. We've now figured out that we don't need this anymore. This is from 2 years ago or something like that. But you will encounter this most likely, this kind of scenario. Now you know how to find it. Select the element in the elements panel. That becomes $0 in console. Throw that into get event listeners, and then keep digging in there until you find what the culprit is. Hopefully this saves you some hair and stress. Chat you soon. Bye.